The hum of the highway had always comforted me. There was something steady about the way the tires ate up mile after mile, the white lines blurring into a ribbon that promised movement, progress, maybe even escape. But that afternoon, it felt different. The sound wasn't steady. It was sharp, grating, like each turn of the wheel was slicing into the silence that sat heavy between me and my daughter. I glanced at her from the corner of my eye. She was driving, her hands tight on the wheel, her jaw clenched. Her profile looked so much like mine that it hurt, a reminder that the girl beside me wasn't just anyone. She was my child, my only child, and yet the air between us was colder than the blasting AC. It hadn't always been this way. There were years when she'd chatter in the passenger seat, asking 100 questions about the sky, the road signs, the world outside the window. I used to sing to her on long drives, making up silly rhymes until she giggled herself breathless. Now? She hadn't spoken more than a handful of words since we'd left the city. I gripped my purse tighter in my lap, fingers brushing against the worn leather strap. Something in her silence unsettled me. There was an edge in the way she kept glancing at the rearview mirror, like she was waiting for something, or hiding it. "Long stretch ahead," I offered softly, hoping to break through. "Maybe we can stop for coffee at the next exit." Her lips barely twitched. No stops. That was it. 2 clipped words. My heart sank. I turned back to the window, trying to will away the ache in my chest. Parenting had never been easy. Raising her alone after her father left, working late shifts, clipping coupons, praying each month that the bills would balance. It had been a battle. But I thought we'd made it. I thought she'd understood the sacrifices, the love that stitched every choice I made. So why did it feel like I was sitting next to a stranger? We drove on. The sky stretched wide, clouds scattered like torn cotton, the kind of openness that usually made me feel free. Not today. The car felt smaller by the mile, like the walls were inching closer, suffocating me. Then, without warning, the locks clicked. The sound jolted me out of my thoughts, sharp, final. My daughter's hand slid from the steering wheel to the console, pressing down deliberately. Every door sealed with a thud. I frowned. "Why do you—" Before I could finish, she reached into her bag and pulled out a manila folder. It landed on my lap with a weight that felt far heavier than paper. I opened it slowly, my pulse quickening. Inside were documents, legal-looking pages full of lines and signatures and stamps. "Sign them," she said flatly, her eyes still fixed on the road. I blinked, confused. "What is this?" Her lips curled, not into a smile, but something sharper, more dangerous. "Everything, the house, the savings, your accounts. Sign it all over to me, now." For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. The steady hum of the highway grew louder, the air thinner. I stared at the papers, then at her profile, searching for some hint that this was a joke, a terrible mistake. But there was no softness in her face, no trace of the little girl who once clutched my hand at crosswalks, only steel. "Do it," she hissed, her fingers tightening on the wheel, "or you'll never get out of this car alive." My breath caught. My hand trembled as it hovered over the pen. And in that moment, I realized the highway wasn't carrying me forward anymore. It had trapped me in the most dangerous place of all, beside my own daughter. The pen lay between my fingers like a weapon I wasn't sure how to hold. My hand shook so badly I thought it might leap from my grasp on its own. "Sign," she repeated, her tone sharper now, every syllable cutting into me. I forced myself to swallow, but my throat felt dry as sandpaper. "Honey, what is this? Why are you—" "Don't call me that." Her eyes flicked toward me, cold, glassy, unrecognizable. "Just do it." The highway stretched on endlessly, cars zipping past in the other lane, the blur of strangers who had no idea that inside this car, my world was caving in. I could scream, bang on the window, wave for help, but she was driving 80, maybe 90, Any wrong move could flip us both. Sweetheart, I tried again, my voice trembling but soft, begging for some piece of the girl I raised. I don't understand. Why would you want me to? Her laugh was hollow, humorless. Why wouldn't I? You've had control my whole life. The house, the money, everything. You made all the choices. Now it's my turn. My chest tightened. Control? God, if only she knew. Every choice I ever made was for her. Working double shifts, skipping meals, selling my wedding ring just to cover her braces. You think I kept things from you? I whispered, more to myself than to her. I gave you everything I had, everything. She slammed her hand on the wheel, making the car jerk. Not enough! Her voice cracked into a scream, raw and bitter. Never enough! You think I don't know what you're worth. You think I didn't see the bank statements, the deeds, the accounts. I deserve it. I'm your daughter. So sign. I stared at her, my heart breaking piece by piece. This wasn't just greed. It was something darker, anger that had been festering, years of resentment I hadn't seen blooming into poison. I lowered my eyes to the papers in my lap. Pages of transfers, notarized spaces waiting for my name. I couldn't even process how she got these drawn up. Did she go to a lawyer? Forge connections? How long had she been planning this? My hand hovered, the pen's tip grazing the top sheet. If I signed, maybe she'd calm down. Maybe I'd make it out alive. But if I did, everything I'd worked for, every safety net, every roof I built over my head and hers, would vanish in ink. Tears stung my eyes. My mind flipped through memories like old photographs. Her first day of kindergarten when she clung to my skirt, the Christmas I worked overtime to buy her the pink bicycle she begged for, the nights she fell asleep on my shoulder after crying about a broken heart. Was all of that gone? Erased in this moment where she looked at me not as her mother, but as prey? She glanced over, her mouth curling into something almost smug. That's right. You're thinking about it now, aren't you? You know you don't have a choice. It's either the papers or your life. The words hit me like ice water. My own daughter, the child I had carried inside me, fed from my own body, now threatening to end mine. I clutched the pen so tightly my knuckles went white, my pulse roared in my ears, and still, some tiny voice inside me whispered, "Don't give in. Not like this." But before I could decide, before I could make the impossible choice, another sound cut through the air, a whisper, low and urgent, from somewhere I didn't expect. "Don't sign. I've been recording everything." For a second, I thought I'd imagined it. The whisper was so soft, so out of place it felt like it had slipped in from a dream. My eyes darted to my daughter. She didn't seem to notice. Her focus was locked on the road, her knuckles pale against the steering wheel, her lips pressed thin. Then it came again, just barely audible over the hum of the engine. "Don't sign. I've been recording everything." My breath caught in my throat. My gaze shifted, trembling, toward the back seat. There, half curled beneath a blanket, eyes wide and steady, was my niece, Emily. 16, sharp as a blade, and stubborn in ways that always reminded me of myself at her age. She must have slipped in earlier before we left. God only knew why, but right then, her presence felt like salvation. She held up her phone, the little red recording dot glowing like a lighthouse in a storm. Relief and terror collided in me at once. Relief because I wasn't alone anymore. Terror because if my daughter realized Emily was there, everything could explode. I tried to keep my voice level, my hands still on the papers. I can't do this, sweetheart. Not like this." Her head snapped toward me, her eyes narrowing. "What did you say?" I forced a shaky smile, glancing down at the forms. "I mean, these look complicated. Maybe I should read through them first, make sure everything's right." She swore under her breath, frustration flickering across her face. "You don't get to stall me. You're signing now." In the corner of my vision, Emily pressed a finger to her lips, her expression fierce. She mouthed the words, "Keep her talking." My pulse thudded so loud I thought it might shake the car. I tried. "Why now? Why this way? If you needed money, you could have just asked me. I would have helped." Her laugh was sharp, bitter, filling. The small space between us. Helped? You would have handed me scraps, just like always. A few hundred here, a loan there. No, this time I'm taking it all. The house, the savings, every last thing you've been hoarding. Hoarding, I repeated, my voice trembling. I was saving, for you, for your future. She shot me a glare so venomous it stole my breath. Don't lie. You never trusted me enough to give me anything real. You just dangled things in front of me like I was a child who needed crumbs. Her words cut deep, but before I could respond, Emily shifted. She leaned forward slightly, her phone still raised, her voice steady this time, loud enough to be heard. "She's lying, Aunt Claire. You don't have to do what she says. I've got it all on record. Every threat, every word." The effect was immediate. My daughter's eyes snapped to the rearview mirror. Her entire body stiffened. "What the hell?" she hissed. "Emily?" The blanket slid off as Emily sat up straighter, her chin lifted in defiance. "Yeah, it's me. And if you try to hurt her or me, this recording goes straight to the cops. I already set it to back up to the cloud." My daughter's face twisted, fury and panic warring in her expression. For the first time since the locks clicked, her control cracked. I clutched the papers tighter, my fear shifting into something sharper. Hope. Because now, she wasn't the only one holding the power in this car. The moment Emily's voice filled the car, the atmosphere shifted. The silence that had smothered me cracked open into something raw and violent. My daughter's eyes flicked between the road and the rearview mirror, her breathing quick and uneven. "You little snake!" she spat, her knuckles whitening on the steering wheel. "You think you're clever, hiding back there?" Emily didn't flinch. Her voice was calm, steadier than mine had been all day. "I know. Everything you said, I've got it. And if you try anything, people will hear it before you can blink." My daughter's jaw clenched. She slammed her palm against the dashboard, the sound like a gunshot in the cramped space. The car swerved, tires screeching against the asphalt. My heart lurched into my throat as I clutched the door handle, praying she wouldn't flip us into the median. "Stop it," I cried. "You'll kill us all." "Then sign the damn papers," she roared, "now before I lose my patience." The car was flying, 80, 90, maybe faster. Wind howled against the doors, the landscape whipping by in streaks of green and gray. It wasn't just a car anymore. It was a weapon, a bullet hurtling down the highway with no safety in sight. I forced myself to breathe, though every inhale felt like glass in my lungs. I turned toward her, trying to keep my voice steady. "Listen to me. This isn't the way. You think you're cornering me, but you're cornering yourself. If you hurt me, you lose everything. That recording will ruin you." Her laugh was jagged, broken. "You think I care? You think I haven't already lost everything?" That caught me off guard. For a split second, her face crumpled, raw pain flashing through her fury. But then it was gone, sealed behind anger again. Emily leaned forward, her phone still raised. "If you do this, there's no going back. You'll go to prison. You'll lose your mom forever." The words landed heavy. My daughter's grip faltered, the car weaving slightly in its lane. I saw her throat work as she swallowed, her eyes glassy for just a heartbeat. But then her expression hardened, darker than ever. "You don't understand, neither of you. I don't care what happens after. I just want it now." She jerked the wheel suddenly, swerving into the far lane. A truck blared its horn, missing us by inches. My scream tore out before I could stop it, my hand flying to the dashboard as the car steadied again. "God, please, slow down," I begged, tears spilling. "We'll talk, I swear, just stop this." Her voice was flat, chilling. "Not until you sign." Emily's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror, fierce, urgent. She mouthed, "Don't." I gripped the pen tighter, my hand trembling over the page. My daughter's eyes darted from the road to the papers, hungry, desperate. The car hummed with danger, every second stretching into eternity. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just about money or property. It wasn't even about control. It was about something broken inside her, something that had been festering in the shadows while I was too busy surviving to notice. And now it was erupting here, in this steel cage flying down a highway where one wrong move could end us all. I swallowed hard, my voice barely more than a whisper. If this is the hill you want to die on, then so be it, but I won't hand you the knife. Her head snapped toward me, rage flooding her features. The car lurched again, and I knew the next moment might decide whether we lived or died. My hands were slick with sweat, the pen trembling between my fingers. My daughter's voice still rang in my ears, sharp, desperate, unrelenting. But beneath all the fear, something new began to stir. A weight I'd carried for years, the guilt and silence, started to burn away. In its place was something stronger. I had spent my whole life sacrificing for her. I worked shifts that broke my body, clipped coupons until my fingers ached, ate less so she could have more. I gave up love, friendships, even sleep, just to keep her safe and cared for. And here she was, threatening to erase me with the stroke of a pen. No, not like this. I straightened in my seat, my voice steadier than I felt. You want everything? The house, the savings, the scraps of security I built? Fine. But don't you dare tell me I never gave you enough. Don't you dare rewrite the truth. Her eyes flicked toward me, narrowing. Oh, so now you're a martyr? Playing the perfect mother? Please. You think I don't know the nights you came home too tired to even look at me? You think I didn't see how you resented me, blamed me for keeping you chained? Her words hit hard, but I forced myself not to flinch. I kept my gaze on her profile, steady, unyielding. I never resented you. I resented the life I was handed. I resented your father walking out and leaving me to pick up the pieces. But you were the reason I kept going. You were the reason I didn't collapse. For the first time, her grip on the wheel loosened. Her lips trembled, her eyes flickering with something like doubt. I pressed on. You think money will fix the hole inside you? You think signatures will patch the places you feel broken? They won't. All this will do is ruin what little we have left. Emily shifted in the back seat, her voice firm. She's right, and you know it. My daughter's face hardened again, but her knuckles weren't as white as before. She was unraveling, caught between fury and guilt. I took a breath, my mind racing. I had to protect Emily, protect myself, but also, in some twisted corner of my heart, I wanted to protect my daughter from herself. Slowly, while her focus darted between me and the mirror, I slid my phone out of my purse. With shaking fingers, I opened my messages. Emily caught the movement, her eyes widening slightly, but she kept quiet. I typed fast, my thumb barely steady. Call 911, Highway 17, mile marker 142, urgent. Then, with a silent prayer, I hit send. To my friend Lisa, the one person I knew would act immediately. The message vanished into the digital ether, a lifeline cast into the storm. I tucked the phone back into my purse, my heart hammering. She hadn't noticed, not yet. I turned back to her, my voice firmer now, a steel edge beneath the fear. You can force me to hold this pen. You can scream until your throat gives out. But hear me, and hear me well. I will not sign away my life. Not to you, not to anyone. Her jaw worked, her eyes blazing with fury, but also something else. Uncertainty. For the first time since this nightmare began, the power in the car shifted. Just a little. But enough for me to breathe. Enough to hope. And hope, I realized, was stronger than fear. The highway stretched on like a vein of steel, but even rage has its limits. My daughter's shoulders were rigid, her breaths coming fast, erratic. Finally, with a growl of frustration, she jerked the wheel hard and veered onto the shoulder. Gravel spit beneath the tires as the car skidded to a halt, dust rising in angry clouds around us. The sudden stillness was almost worse than the speed. My pulse pounded so loud in my ears, I swore she could hear it. She slammed the gear into park, whipped around, and snatched the papers from my lap. "Enough games!" she snarled. "We're not moving another inch until you sign." Emily sat up straighter in the back seat, phone still steady in her grip. "Don't," she warned. "I've already backed this up, every word. You can't escape it now." My daughter's eyes flashed, wild and desperate. She lunged halfway over the console, her hand swiping toward Emily's phone. "Stop!" I shouted, grabbing her wrist. My strength surprised even me. Years of holding everything together had built a core of steel I hadn't realized I still had. I held her back, trembling but unrelenting. Her eyes met mine, blazing. "Why are you protecting her? She's not your daughter. I am." Her words sliced through me, raw and jagged. I felt tears rise, but I forced my voice not to crack. "Because she's trying to save you, and you don't even see it." For a heartbeat, everything froze. Her chest heaved, her face inches from mine, rage and grief tangled together. Then, with a guttural sound, she yanked her hand free and shoved the papers at me again. "Sign it, Mom, or I swear I'll—" Her voice broke, tears streaking down her cheeks. "I'll make sure you never leave this car." The pen trembled in my hand. My daughter's threat wasn't just words anymore. Her whole body was shaking, caught between violence and collapse. Emily's voice cut through like a knife, strong, unyielding. "It's over. The police are already coming. You think Aunt Claire didn't find a way to warn someone? Think again." My daughter's head snapped toward her, confusion flashing across her face. Then it dawned on her, slowly, horribly, the truth. Her eyes darted to my purse, to me, and the realization spread like wildfire in her gaze. You sent something," she whispered, her voice cracking. I held her stare, my own tears spilling freely now. "Yes, because I refused to let you destroy us both." The silence that followed was unbearable. For a moment I thought she might collapse. Then, with a scream, she slammed her fist against the steering wheel and reached for the door handle. Panic surged in me. Was she running? Was she about to do something even worse? The door flung open, the hot highway air rushing in. She staggered out, pacing on the gravel shoulder, her hands clawing at her hair. She looked like a caged animal, desperate, broken, thrashing against walls no one else could see. I wanted to go after her, to hold her like I did when she was little, and nightmares woke her screaming. But I couldn't move. My body was frozen, every muscle tight with fear. Emily's hand slipped into mine from the back seat. Her grip was small but steady, grounding me. "Stay here," she whispered. "Help is coming." Dust swirled around us as cars sped by, oblivious. My daughter stood on the roadside, chest heaving, her eyes darting between us, the traffic and the empty sky. And in that fragile, terrifying moment, I understood. She was teetering on the edge of something final. One step forward could save her. One step back could ruin us all. The dust hadn't even settled before I heard it. The distant wail of sirens, faint but growing louder with each heartbeat. My daughter froze on the shoulder, her eyes darting toward the sound, then back to me. For the first time since this nightmare began, she looked afraid. Not furious, not smug. Afraid. Emily's grip tightened around my hand. "See? I told you," she whispered, her voice steady. "They're coming." My daughter shook her head violently, her hands clawing at her temples. No, you didn't." She stopped mid-sentence, realization crashing over her face. Her voice broke. "You did." Tears blurred my vision as I pushed open my door. My legs trembled as I stepped onto the gravel, the hot wind whipping my hair into my face. I faced her across the few feet of dusty roadside, the roar of passing cars drowning out the space between us. "Please," I begged, my voice hoarse, "don't make this worse. Just stop. We can still fix this. You can still walk away." She stared at me, eyes red, chest heaving. "Fix this? You think anyone's going to let me just walk away after this?" She laughed bitterly, a sound that cracked like glass. "It's over. Everything's over." The sirens grew louder, closer, until flashing lights painted the horizon red and blue. My heart twisted. This was my daughter, the same girl I once cradled against my chest, the one who cried over scraped knees and broken hearts. And now she was about to be taken from me in handcuffs. "Don't fight them," I pleaded, taking a cautious step forward. "Don't make them hurt you. Please, baby." Her lip quivered. For a moment, she looked like that little girl again, lost, scared, needing me. But then her gaze hardened. She looked past me toward the approaching cruisers, then back at the recording phone still clutched in Emily's hands. Her voice was a whisper, ragged and hollow. "You ruined everything." Before I could answer, the patrol cars skidded to a stop. Officers spilled out, weapons drawn, voices booming commands. "Hands up, step away from the vehicle." I raised my arms immediately, sobbing, the heat of the asphalt burning through my shoes. Emily climbed carefully from the back seat, holding her phone high to show them she wasn't a threat. But my daughter, my stubborn, broken daughter, stood frozen, eyes wild, trembling like she might bolt into the traffic. "Don't!" I cried out. "Please, just put your hands up." Her eyes met mine one last time. For a second, I thought I saw something soft there, something like regret. Then she slowly raised her hands, her shoulders collapsing inward as the officers closed in. The rest blurred together, the shouts, the click of handcuffs, the Miranda rights echoing through the dry air. I stood there numbly, tears streaming, my body rooted to the gravel as they led her away. Emily slipped her arm around my waist, grounding me. "You're safe now," she whispered. "It's over." But it didn't feel over. It felt like something inside me had been hollowed out, leaving only the echo of love and loss. Later, when the dust had cleared and the car sat silent on the roadside, I slid into the passenger seat once more. The space beside me was empty, but not really. It was heavy with memory, the sound of her laughter as a child, the warmth of her small hand in mine, the betrayal that had nearly ended us both. I whispered to the empty seat, my voice breaking, "I loved you. I still do, but I couldn't let you take me down with you." And as the flashing lights faded in the distance, I gripped Emily's hand tighter and told myself the truth I needed to hear. I had survived. When I finally made it home that night, the house felt different. The walls were the same, the photographs still lined the mantel, but the air was heavy with absence. I set my purse on the counter, sank into the chair at the kitchen table, and just sat there, breathing, remembering, trying not to shatter. Because how do you process something like this? How do you reconcile the child you raised, the one you die for, with the woman who looked you in the eye and promised to take your life if you didn't give her everything you had? The truth is, you don't. Not right away. Maybe not ever. That night, I thought about every fork in the road that had brought us here. The birthdays where I scraped together enough for a cake, the nights I stayed up sewing clothes or balancing bills, the mornings I kissed her forehead and whispered promises I had no idea how to keep. I thought all that love would be enough. I thought it would bind us, shield us, carry us through whatever storms came. But sometimes, love isn't enough to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Sometimes, the people you'd give your last breath for are the same people who will try to take it from you. That realization broke me, but it also rebuilt me. Because in that car, on that highway, with the pen shaking in my hand and death sitting in the driver's seat, I discovered something I'd forgotten I had: strength, resolve. the quiet, unyielding voice inside me that said, "No, not like this. I will not surrender myself to fear, not even to my own blood. I don't share this to wallow in pain. I share it for anyone who's been betrayed by someone they loved so deeply it felt like a second skin. For anyone who's been manipulated, cornered, erased, told their life wasn't theirs to live. Hear me when I say this. You are not invisible. Your life matters. Your dignity matters. You have the right to protect yourself, even when the threat comes from the people you once cradled, trusted, adored. Choosing not to give in doesn't make you cruel. It doesn't make you heartless. It makes you brave. I'll never stop loving my daughter. That bond doesn't just vanish, no matter how deep the betrayal. But love doesn't mean surrender. It doesn't mean silencing yourself. And it certainly doesn't mean signing away your future for someone else's brokenness. So if you've ever been where I was, cornered, trembling, pen in hand, told you had no choice, let my story be proof that you do. You always do. I chose truth. I chose to stand my ground. And though it cost me, it also saved me. If this story resonates with you, leave a comment. Share it with someone who needs the reminder that they are not powerless, not voiceless, not invisible. You matter. Your life is yours to keep, and it's never too late to reclaim it. Betrayal stories. Sheer strength. Seeing survivor.